fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today, want to take a look at what I call probably maximum loot. I mean, what else would we really call this video? And I want to go ahead and preface this by saying this is going to be very unique to your situation. So what's important is for you to pay attention and learn how what I'm describing works so that you can try to replicate it and see if it's effective for you. I'm just go ahead and be honest. For some people, this will not be the most effective strategy. For others, it might be. And if you would be so kind, while you're here, go ahead and like the video and just, stick around and see what you end up thinking. So when I'm talking maximum loot, I'm really focusing on these new Solo Armadas. The reason being is the Bajoran faction has been an incredible boost to the economy of the game and to every player's just progression. It's making everything faster. You're getting more materials. You're getting more, bonuses to all of your ships. And I love the favor system. I really, really do. It's a research tree that has immediate impact as soon as you jump in. But one thing you got to do is do your uncommon loot exchange, your rare loot exchange for the rewards. And as you're grinding by, you want to find how can I do this the most efficient way possible? Because as you can see here, you need to pull a chest every 2 days, at least for the uncommons, not counting, for example, your elite loot exchange, which we want to pull this pretty daggum often too. Look at that. It's got 15 O'Brien shards, 66 more uncommon directives, the diplomacy tokens, and then those Bajoran credits, which, ooh, it is yummy. So how do I actually go about getting as much loot as possible? When it comes to edicts, which we've talked about the Defiant having a bonus ability, we'll look at that in a second. But also, how can I get as much Armada loot as possible? I want to introduce you to the maximum loot crew. Now I want to go ahead and say real quick, I don't know who to give credit to this for. It was sent to me by someone who had seen it, but didn't have the name of the person who invented it. So if y'all actually know, comment down below. I don't want to take credit for it, but I legitimately can't say, hey, this person came up with a great idea. But what you see is I've got several different Armadas launched. I want to show you a difference here. Right here on this one, why does this one have 445 and 267, level 46? And why does this one at the top have 410 and 223? So what I did is run maximum loot. Sound confusing? Don't worry, we're here for you. So when I say maximum loot, I am doing multiple setups for different things. The first thing to understand is how edicts seem to be mathed in the game for Solo Armadas. I mean, DJ were talking about this and he confirmed it by his math saying the same thing. When you usually would calculate how loot is distributed in Armadas, we typically know that we're going by ships and the power and how it drops down below. It's one of the reasons that we push everybody, if you're going Solo Armadas, your strongest ship, in my case, the Valdor, we want to run 5-6 con because of loot distribution. Not to mention it's a really good Armada run. So because of that, how does that affect other things as we move forward? Well, when it comes to edicts, it's affecting the entire base layout of edicts in terms of improving how much loot that you're getting. So I'm running 2 loot crews. 5-6 con is not only an effective mitigation, piercing, and critical build for a ship, it's also loot because the secondary ability of 5 of 11 works in everything. We've talked about it. She works in Armadas, she works in PvE grinding. Anything that you're grinding, rep. She helps improve. So in this case, 60%, which will take any bonus that we can get. Then I've got this crew. I'm running full synergy around Geordi because, wrong one, because this increases rewards drop when defeating Armada targets by 80%. He works, 5 works, and then, I got told so often, she's a one-trick pony, Rev. Why would we invest in Jaylah? It makes no sense. Why would we go after a one-trick pony? This one-trick pony behind me, she works, increasing your loot payout. Now I want to go back to that screenshot that I showed you and tell you why it works. So the very top, I am running my Valdor, my Katinga, and then the Defiant against a 46. And you're going to see the rewards I get, 410,000 and 223 edicts. Now, real quick, let me show you what it is just out in space. If we're on a 46, a regular 46, none of your bonuses or anything should pay out around 200 to 2. And then there is your rewards for edicts. Noted. Okay, so we've got that in our mind. Now, I can punch higher. I can punch a 48. I can, if I take the Defiant out of it, I can probably punch a little bit higher and go for a 50. But I'm not, and there's a reason for that, because I'm trying to focus on maximum loot while also least amount of cost and investment for me. So let's back it up a little bit and go back to that. So we know right around roughly what it should pay out. Let's go over here. You see I'm at 223 edicts and then 410 Armada currency. Now, if I just add the Franklin A, take out my Katinga, put the Franklin A in with Jaylah as captain, what do I get? 267 edicts. That's 16.5% more than I was just getting with the Defiant and 2 loot crews because of how Jaylah works. Now, here's how she actually runs. Let's put her up here. 100% resources from hostiles with a Franklin or Franklin A. Now, I will realize that most of you are going to say, hey, the Franklin sucks. It sucks so abysmally versus anything besides swarms. And you would be right. That's okay, though. Why is it okay? One, you can use things like the Cerritos to boost its overall power, which I will do. You can also use the Defiance ability if you want to. Now, even if that's still not the case, the main key is having a ship that can carry. Here, my Valdor carried it. And if you were like, say, a level 39 and you were hitting a 40, and there's a big jump to go from the 40 Armada up to the next tier, like the 43 uncommon. But what if you're strong enough to beat that 40 and get carried pretty easily by your top 2 ships? Well, if that third ship can come in and give you a loot bonus, especially when it comes to edicts, wouldn't you want to try that out and take an example? Now, somebody's going to ask, well, hey, Rev, what happens if you just go up to the next tier, like a 48? I'll show you. My next 48, I get 286 edicts and 630. But I want to point something out real quick. I'm in a unique position here, and this is why I think that the loot crew is so important for the average player out there, regardless if you have a Defiant, whatever. I have got a Valdor at tier 5, I've got a Katinga at tier 3, and then I have a Defiant that is tier 5. Most players in the game at the point of me making this don't have a tier 5 Defiant. Most of you probably don't have 2 uncommons invested in, especially if we're talking about our free-to-play player base. But what they usually have is a Franklin A. And what they usually have is Jaylah, whether they got her through the anniversary event or whether they've gotten and just ground her out naturally over time and getting the bonuses that we can find at any different point. Now, one thing I want to talk about is not just harp completely on Jaylah, but that all 3 of these are loot crews. And you want to focus on anything that can increase the amount that you're getting. Now, there's also a Bajoran favor that helps with this. But one for me, it comes down to running the crews. I'm going to run 5-6 Con. I'm going to run full Geordi. Now, on the Franklin, I would change this up. For the purposes of this video, I just ran the regular crew, swapped it out just to show how easy it is to swap in. But obviously, there's no synergy for Jaylah in the game. So what I would do instead, I'd put Lorca there to help my critical builds somewhere else. And I would probably throw in, Miles O'Brien or even Benjamin Sisko to try to give a little bit more damage boosting to this very baby ship. It's not going to live a long time, but that's okay. Go 20 rounds. And as we go through, you're going to see what round 2, the Franklin shields get depleted. And if it dies, right here in round 3, it's not going to last very long. But what's important is that loot bonus stays. It's still there. The ability that you're getting from Jaylah on the Franklin A is proof right here because I'm getting more edicts for the same Armada than what I was doing when I ran full power. Now, the tricky thing for you is going to have to decide when is it best to run this, because I have found that there are a lot of players who can run this setup and beat the same level Armada they normally would, but they can't beat the next one above. Like they can beat a 46, but they can't beat a 48 or a 50. Or they can beat, the 40s, but they can't go to 43s. And in that instance, you're finding an opportunity to increase the amount of rewards that you're getting to make it so you can do these pulls quicker. Now, the uniqueness of how edicts get distributed in Armadas makes it to where Jaylah is even more effective here. Still not as good individually as how the Defiant ability works, but when we're talking about needing everything that we can to improve overall loot grinding and loot accruement, well, this crew and this set of crews is the way to get maximum loot. The higher you can punch, typically the better you're going to perform. I do want to point out though that again, when I beat that 48, it was with a tier 5 Defiant, using a tier 5 Defiance ability on the Valdor and running an Exo Comp and Cerritos, everything for me to beat this 48. And I still had 2 4-star ships who managed to do pretty well. I didn't try because I didn't have enough directives. I actually might be able to beat this 48 with my regular run. The loot run, that is. I actually have to try that out. But even if I can't, I'm getting cheaper repairs, guaranteed wins. And I also understand that my account's in a unique position because I am kind of a dolphin spender, especially in the second half of this year. But if we're talking about the average player in the game, I think you're gonna have a lot of benefits here that you can hopefully see. And if nothing else, well, I taught you something. You know something works. You know that Jaylah works in any armada. Yeah, if you want to be really crazy, take her to, well, no, I'm not gonna go that far. But you can use her in any armada if you want to. Gotta be on the Franklin A though. Just remember that. Her ability is unique to the Franklin A, but it does extend outside of that. There's some people who use her to go find those Ferengi traders in Borg space to get extra of those little scarabs. There's uses for everything. Geordi is not a card that a lot of players have, but if you get him, just like 5 of 11, he can increase the amount of loot that you're getting. So we're talking about maximum loot grinding for Solo Armadas. One of the things that I'm doing to make sure that my faction's getting its payout done every 2 days, especially this uncommon loot chest, and soon to be my rares when I get up a couple of ranks. That's exactly how. Really hope that you enjoyed this video and hope this helps you out. If nothing else, hopefully you've learned how some of the officers work in the game. And if you're ever curious, you want to know the exact math of some of this, well, come hit us up in our Discord. We have an entire channel dedicated to the math of the game. We can show you how it actually breaks down loot distribution and everything. Come join us. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with those Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one. We outie.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.